Hello, and welcome to the Sleepy Survival Stories channel. Far from here, beyond familiar maps and crowded routes, there is a different giant watching over the world. Not Everest, the famous summit so many speak of, but its fierce, quiet brother, K2. It rises out of the Karakoram like a shard of crystal, steep and solemn, a dark pyramid crowned with snow. Very few have stood upon its summit, far fewer than on other peaks, and yet the stories it carries are heavy with courage, sacrifice, and the delicate thread between life and death. Tonight, you do not need to measure altitudes or trace old expeditions with the sharp focus of a historian. You're invited to drift along them, softly, like thin clouds sliding past a high camp. As you breathe in, imagine the cold, clear starlight over K2's ridges. As you breathe out, feel yourself sinking deeper into warmth, as if you were sitting by a small stove in a canvas tent, listening to the wind outside but untouched by it. The world beyond your room can rest for now. Unfinished tasks, unresolved questions, unspoken words, let them wait at the foot of the mountain. Tonight, we step gently into a different kind of journey. A journey where you don't have to prove anything, or reach a summit, or fight against the storm. Tonight, we will walk slowly through the story of K2, the remote approaches, the sharp ridges, the climbers who came with hope in their hearts and frost on their faces. We will listen to their footsteps on ice, to their whispered prayers in the thin air, and to the deep silence that surrounds them. Not to stir anxiety, but to kindle a quiet reverence for the human spirit that keeps moving, even when the mountain seems impossible. Let your breathing find a gentle rhythm, like a rope team moving carefully, one step at a time. Let your thoughts spread out, wide and simple, like moonlight on snow. Tonight, we settle over the high world. You're not here to conquer anything. You're here to rest, to breathe, and to be held in a story larger than yourself. Chapter 1. Before statistics and stories, there is simply a shape rising into the sky. K2 stands like a sharp silver flame above the Karakoram, a steep pyramid of ice and stone. It is a little lower than Everest, yet many who know mountains whisper that this one feels like the true king, quiet and unbending. Its slopes fall away more sharply, its weather shifts more suddenly, its faces ask more of every step. Still, people come. They come with ropes and dreams, with fears they barely name. As you breathe in, imagine their small figures beneath that vast tower. As you breathe out, feel how small your own worries become beside such a silent giant. Chapter 2. Not even the wisest climbers can quite agree which mountain is the most difficult. How do you measure hardship on a scale of wind and ice, of distance and thin air? Some count how far above the safe world a climber must travel. Some look at how many reached the top and how many never returned. On charts and in books, K2 often appears near the darkest numbers, but numbers cannot hold a soul or tell you how a ridge feels in moonlight. So tonight, instead of arguing over danger, we simply bow in quiet respect. Breathe in slowly and let that respect soften into humility within you. Chapter 3. Long before most of the world had heard its name, men with notebooks and instruments walked beneath distant skies, measuring the shape of Earth. In the 1800s, surveyors reached the Karakoram, where jagged horizons folded like frozen waves. From far away, they sketched two remarkable peaks and gave them simple labels, K1 and K2, K for Karakoram and numbers for order. Unlike many mountains, K2 had no shared local name, hidden as it was from villages and trade routes. so the plain, temporary mark in a notebook remained. K2, a code more than a name. As you rest, imagine that first quiet glimpse through haze, a distant summit not yet wrapped in legend, only in morning light. Chapter 4. As the art of climbing grew in distant lands, thoughts slowly turned toward those untouched peaks on the world's high roof. In 1892, an early expedition walked toward K2, not to conquer, but to approach, to see. They reached a place now called Concordia, where glaciers meet like slow, shining rivers of ice. From there, the mountain rose closer, but still beyond their feet. Years later, others tried again from different sides, tracing ridges, touching spurs, seeking a line that might someday carry them higher. Each attempt ended below the crown, yet with every journey, a little more of the path was revealed. Let your breath follow that same gentle pattern, reaching, pausing, returning, and resting. Chapter 5. When people try to understand danger, they sometimes turn to numbers, hoping that math can make sense of mystery. Climbers speak softly of peaks where many reached the top and many never returned. Names like Nanga Parbat, Annapurna and K2 appear when charts are drawn, their death-to-ascent ratios hovering like long shadows on a page. But numbers are only lanterns, not the full night. They cannot tell you what a final sunrise felt like, or how courage tastes in thin air. As you breathe in, imagine those statistics dissolving into starlight. As you breathe out, let go of the need to measure everything, and simply honor the lives behind each line. Chapter 6. The mountains themselves are never exactly the same. One year, snow lies deep and soft, hiding crevasses and steepening slopes. Another year, the ice grows hard and brittle, and storms come more often, like arguments the sky is unwilling to end. Routes change, seracs shift, cornices lean further out into empty space. What was safe enough one season becomes doubtful the next. This is why no one can truly crown a single summit as the most deadly. Still, K2 stands close to that dark frontier in many hearts. Breathe in, accepting that some things cannot be neatly ranked. Breathe out, resting in the simple truth that life itself is always a fragile ascent. Chapter 7. There are some truths about K2 that even the most cautious voices agree upon. It rises to 8,111 meters, second only to Everest, which means long hours spent in the thin, unforgiving death zone where the body slowly unravels. It sits farther north than the other great peaks, where the cold bites harder and the winds sharpen their teeth. Its slopes do not ease gently but tilt steeply, often around 45 degrees or more, demanding constant focus from every step. Here, a simple stumble carries a different weight. As you inhale, imagine tracing that tall, steep line against the sky. As you exhale, feel your own body held safely, far from any edge. Chapter 8. Even before a rope touches the high ridges, K2 asks for effort simply to be seen up close. There are no busy highways curling to its foot, no easy villages waiting with warm tea. Travel to base camp is a journey of many days over rough paths and shifting ice. Caravans of people and gear moving slowly toward a white horizon. Once the climbing begins, helmets are rarely taken off. Rockfall and icefall can arrive without a word. Tents sometimes perch on tiny ledges, part of their floor hanging over empty air. As you breathe in, picture that narrow shelter against the dark. As you breathe out, feel gratitude for the wide, solid ground beneath your own bed tonight. Chapter 9. Higher on K2, the path narrows until it is sometimes only as wide as a single boot step. on those slender ledges of snow and ice. There is no room for crowds, no space for hurry. Rescues, when needed, become heartbreaking puzzles. How do you carry a weak body down where there is scarcely space for your own? Below in the valleys, people speak of heroism and failure. Up here it is only wind, ice, and the slow decision of each step. Some seasons no one reaches the top at all. There are only attempts, storms, and silence. Breathe in, honouring the quiet unknown. Breathe out, feeling your own road suddenly gentler. Chapter 10. In the early days of high exploration, before fixed ropes and careful forecasts, the great mountain waited nearly untouched. Climbers were just beginning to dream beyond their familiar Alps and Rockies toward the roof of the world, where all the 8,000-metre peaks stood unclimbed. K2, remote and unnamed in village stories, felt like a question written in ice. The first small parties came simply to look, to sketch, to trace the lines of ridges and spurs. They found no easy way. Steep faces, broken rock, hanging glaciers, everything on K2 seemed to say, this will not be simple. As you breathe, let that phrase soften in your own life. It may not be simple, but you are not alone. As you listen, let your breathing slow, like a rope team moving with care along a snowy traverse. Feel the soft weight of your blankets as a safe high camp where the walls of your tent keep out all the harshness of the day. You do not need to decide anything now. You do not need to be perfect, or productive, or brave. Let your thoughts drift like snowflakes in a gentle wind, settling wherever they choose. If worry rises, imagine it dissolving into the white silence around K2's base, small and far away. With each exhale, release one more tight place in your body, one more unneeded burden in your mind. Chapter 11. In 1902, a bold, mixed group of climbers approached K2 from the north, through the wild lands of what is now China. From the last settled place, it took about 2 long weeks of walking just to reach the foot of the mountain, a pilgrimage of dust, stone, and thin blue horizons. They built camps on its flanks and tried again and again to climb higher, 5 separate pushes into cloud and cold. In more than 2 months near the peak, they saw only a handful of clear days. Snow, wind, and exhaustion turned them back at last. As you breathe in, feel their persistence. As you breathe out, feel the kindness of being allowed simply to rest. Chapter 12. A few years later, another party came, carrying the calm confidence of experience. Led by an Italian duke who had climbed many great peaks, they approached K2 from a different side, searching for a line through the steep tangle of rock and ice. They followed a bold ridge, now known as the Abruzzi Spur, tracing ledges and chimneys with care. Soon, the Duke understood that this mountain would not bend easily. The slopes grew harsher, the camps more precarious. In the end, he turned back and quietly called K2 unclimbable. As you breathe in, feel the honesty in that word. As you breathe out, remember that sometimes wisdom is simply knowing when to stop. Chapter 13. After the Duke left, almost 20 years of silence followed. K2 remained alone with the wind and stars, its ridges free of fixed ropes, its flanks bearing only the faint memory of human footsteps. Elsewhere, people argued over borders, built cities, lived and loved and forgot about this distant pyramid of ice. But in small rooms and mountain huts, a few climbers still traced its lines on maps, wondering if the unclimbable verdict was truly final. In their hearts, the mountain became less a prize and more a question. As you breathe, notice your own unanswered questions. Let them rest tonight. like a summit waiting patiently beneath clouds. Chapter 14. By the late 1930s, far away across an ocean, members of an American climbing club gathered to dream aloud. They spoke of K2 with a mixture of reverence and curiosity, as if discussing a distant sacred temple. Could they go, at least to look more closely, to see whether a safe route truly existed? They planned a reconnaissance, not a conquest, to trace the Abruzzi spur, to feel the rock under hand and crampon, to learn the mountain's language. Their gear was simple by today's standards, their knowledge limited, their courage real. Breathe in, imagining those early preparations. Breathe out, recognizing that every great journey begins not with certainty, but with a humble first step. Chapter 15. They left New York by ship in the spring of 1938, sailing toward a world that was still full of untried heights. From the ocean, they moved by train and road through India, watching plains rise slowly into foothills rise into jagged ranges. At last, the road ended and walking began. With porters and ponies, with bundles of food and ropes and canvas, they followed valleys and glaciers toward K2's hidden throne. Week by week, the mountain grew larger in their sky, trading rumor for reality. As you breathe in, imagine that long approach. As you breathe out, feel your own day's journey softening, step by gentle step, into rest. Chapter 16. Their list of supplies read almost like a pilgrim's packing for a long, cold retreat. They carried sacks of pemmican, that dense mixture of dried meat and fat, meant to keep life burning in thin air. There were bags of dried fruits and vegetables, biscuits, cereals, powdered milk. Simple food, but rich with intention. For equipment, they had boots studded with nails instead of modern crampons, hemp and manila ropes instead of nylon, wooden-handled ice axes with steel heads. By today's standards, their tools seem fragile, yet each piece was chosen with care. As you breathe in, imagine the weight of that little universe of gear. As you breathe out, consider how little you truly need for your own inner climb. Chapter 17. By early May, they reached the far north of what is now Pakistan, a land of high valleys and clear rivers where the road simply stopped. From the last small town there were no more vehicles, only feet. Ahead lay roughly 360 miles of walking, a long procession of porters, climbers, ponies and dreams, tracing dusty paths toward a white horizon. Villages thinned, then vanished, replaced by glaciers and stone. The human world grew quieter, the mountain world grew nearer. Day after day, boots met rock and breath met thin, cool air. As you breathe in, feel that steady rhythm of steps. As you breathe out, let your own heart slow to that simple, ancient pace. Chapter 18. On a June day in 1938, they finally stepped onto the Godwin-Austen Glacier and chose a place for base camp at around 5,100 meters. There, beneath K2's towering south face, they built a small village of canvas and rope. The porters were paid and turned back toward home, their work complete. The climbers remained, a much smaller circle now, alone with ice, rock, and sky. Beyond this point, there would be no roads, no markets, no easy escape, only their own judgment and the mercy of weather. As you inhale, imagine looking up at that immense wall of stone and snow. As you exhale, feel the comfort of knowing you can always turn back into the warmth of your own life. Chapter 19. For days, they moved along the lower flanks of K2, exploring, watching how the light traced its ridges, how snow clung to its faces. They studied the Abruzzi spur, that sharp southeast ridge, and other possible lines. None seemed kind. Every option carried its own tangle of risks. In the end, the spur the Duke had tested years before became their chosen way, not because it was gentle, but because it was least unkind. It offered small ledges for camps, rock strong enough for pitons, a continuous line toward the summit. Breathe in, thinking of choices in your own life. Breathe out, remembering that often the right path is simply the one you can walk with steady, honest steps. Chapter 20. The work of climbing began quietly. From base camp they moved up to establish Camp 2, then Camp 3, following steep snowfields and rocky ribs. They fixed ropes, hammered pitons into hard stone, and carved platforms for tents on precarious slopes. Weather stalled them, then relented, then stalled them again. Near 21,500 feet, they faced a narrow, near-vertical rock chimney that would become famous, a dark crack in the mountain's armour. One man would eventually climb it first, inch by patient inch, opening a passage for all who followed. As you breathe in, feel the patience in that slow ascent. As you breathe out, let yourself release the urge to hurry anywhere tonight. Let your breathing soften now, like snow settling after a small storm. Feel your bed as a safe ledge carved from the mountain of this day, just wide enough, just warm enough for you to rest upon. You do not need to climb any further this evening. You do not need to replay old choices or plan new routes. Imagine a gentle light glowing in a high tent, a small stove humming, the wind outside a distant whisper. With every exhale, allow one more thought to drift away across the glacier. You are sheltered, you are held. For now, simply breathe and let the story carry you onward in peace. Chapter 21. The chimney they faced was only about 80 feet high, but height is not always measured in numbers alone. At over 21,000 feet, every move was slowed by thin air and tired muscles. The first man to climb it pressed his body into the narrow groove of rock, finding holds by touch and instinct more than sight. Soft metal pitons bent in the hard stone. Much of the ascent was almost free. 2.5 hours of careful effort carried him upward at last. A passage was opened. As you breathe in, feel the courage of one patient soul. As you breathe out, remember how often one quiet act of perseverance makes the way easier for many. Chapter 22. Even with the chimney conquered, the work was not finished. Ropes were fixed to help the others, but carrying loads up that vertical slot was nearly impossible. So they built a simple hauling system, sending heavy bundles upward on the line while climbers guided them from below. Slowly, food, fuel, and tents rose into the high, cold air. Above the chimney they placed Camp 5 on a snowfield, a tiny island of canvas perched between stone and sky. Nights were restless, breaths shallow, dreams strange. As you inhale, imagine the tents glowing like small lanterns against the dark. As you exhale, let your own room feel just as precious and protected. Chapter 23. Higher still, they climbed toward a dark, looming structure of rock that would come to be known as the Black Pyramid. Here, the mountain steepened again, its faces broken and complex, demanding careful movement on cold, brittle stone. Camp 6 rose at around 7,100 meters, a narrow platform chipped into the slope. Food and fuel were running low, the monsoon winds were drawing near. The leaders knew they could not linger long. They chose 2 of the strongest climbers to push ahead, hoping that speed might carry them safely past the most difficult ground. As you breathe in, feel the weight of those decisions. As you breathe out, trust that in your own life you can choose with sincerity, even without certainty. Chapter 24. The chosen pair moved upward through the Black Pyramid. weaving between ribs of rock and patches of ice. They climbed until at last they could place Camp 7 at roughly 24,700 feet, perched high above the world of rivers and trees. From there, they pressed on one more day, moving into deeper cold and thinner air. By late afternoon, one of them could go no farther. They had reached about 26,000 feet, just 2,000 feet below the summit, but the mountain was clear. Not this time. They turned back, leaving their highest point marked only in memory and a few footprints. Breathe in, feeling the ache of turning around. Breathe out, sensing the quiet wisdom in letting go. Chapter 25. They descended to rejoin their friends, leaving ropes fixed, camps prepared, knowledge gained. In time, they retreated all the way to base camp and then back to the valleys, carrying no summit photo, no flag planted in the snow. Yet many saw the expedition as a deep success. They had found a feasible route, tested its dangers, and remarkably lost no lives on a mountain known for its harshness. K2 remained unconquered, but a conversation with it had begun. As you breathe in, honor the value of incomplete victories. As you breathe out, allow yourself to see how far you've already come, even in places where you did not reach the peak. Chapter 26. The story could have ended there, with K2 still holding its summit in solitude. But mountains have a way of calling people back, especially those who feel the first attempt was only a beginning. Plans were made for another expedition the very next year in 1939. Yet the world beyond the peaks was uneasy, economies strained, nations edging toward war. Raising money for such a distant dream was difficult. Only those who could pay their own way were chosen, and many of the strongest climbers from 1938 stayed home. A new team gathered, less seasoned, still hopeful. As you breathe in, think of their courage. As you breathe out, feel compassion for all who step into hard journeys with limited tools. Chapter 27. Once again, they travelled across oceans and continents, by ship and train, toward the edge of the mapped world. Once again, the road ended in a northern town and the long walk began. They hired porters to carry loads to the glacier, and Sherpas to guide the higher work among rock and ice. The caravan wound through valleys and over passes, following the same distant pull toward K2's shadow. Beneath the same sharp ridges, they built a new base camp, pitched fresh canvas, and watched the vast south face rise above them. As you inhale, imagine the quiet awe of seeing that mountain again. As you exhale, remember how some places in life keep asking us what we truly seek. Chapter 28. From base camp, they moved upward along the now-known line, grateful for the memory of last year's efforts. They reoccupied the old sites, Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3, each a familiar notch on the long ascent. But very quickly, the mountain reminded them that no year is like another. On June 21st, a brutal storm fell upon K2, with deep cold and winds like invisible hammers against the tents. For 8 days they could do little but hold on and wait. Snow piled high, time slipped by. Their window to climb was shrinking. Breathe in, feeling the patience of those long storm-bound days. Breathe out, letting your own delays become softer, less sharp against your heart. Chapter 29. When the storm finally loosened its grip, the climbers rose and began again. They fixed ropes up House's chimney, established Camp 5, then climbed through the Black Pyramid to set Camp 6, and finally Camp 7 high above. Their bodies were thinner now, their faces drawn by altitude and effort. Supplies needed to flow upward like a steady river, but here, confusion began to creep in. From below, some thought the higher party had not advanced very far. Loads were not moved as they should have been. Food, fuel, and rope lagged behind the climbers who needed them most. As you breathe in, feel the fragility of plans. As you breathe out, remember that even good hearts can misunderstand each other in the thin air of stress. Chapter 30. As the advance party pushed higher, the threads between camps grew tangled. From his high tent near Camp 7, the leader expected supplies to rise steadily behind him. When doubts whispered in his mind, he descended through thinning air to see for himself. What he found below startled him. Camps poorly stocked, loads still resting far down the mountain. Those at lower altitude had believed the upper team far behind and had waited for news that never came. Misunderstanding, not malice, had crept between them. As you breathe in, feel how easily confusion can grow in harsh places. As you breathe out, let go of harsh judgments, knowing we all see imperfectly. Chapter 31. Meanwhile, the mountain was working its slow changes inside human bodies. Weeks at altitude had carved away their strength. Some climbers coughed in the thin air, heads aching, sleep broken. Others felt the sting of frostbite in toes and fingers, small corners of themselves going numb in the cold. A few had to descend with the help of Sherpas, step by careful step, surrendering their hopes of the summit for the sake of life itself. Still, the higher pair moved on, convinced that one clear window might carry them upward. As you inhale, honor the quiet bravery of those who turn back. As you exhale, feel permission to choose healing over every expectation. Chapter 32. At last, they placed Camp 8 around 25,300 feet, then a ninth camp slightly higher still. Above them lay only a narrow band of sky and the final slopes of K2. On a clear July morning, they set out to try for the summit. Soon, they reached a place that would become legendary, the bottleneck, where a steep traverse crosses under hanging ice cliffs. Uneasy with that fragile roof of seracs above, they turned instead toward a nearby rock wall. For 9 long hours they climbed that wall in the thin air, inching upward until they stood around 27,400 feet, only 800 feet below the top. As daylight faded, they turned back. Breathe in, feeling their nearness. Breathe out, feeling the mercy of coming home. As you listen now, let your own breathing soften, like wind easing after a long storm. Imagine yourself in a quiet tent high above the world, a small circle of warmth in a vast field of snow. Outside, the mountain keeps its silent vigil. Inside, you are safe, wrapped in fabric and stillness and gentle light. You do not need to finish any climb tonight. You do not need to answer every question or solve every mystery. With each inhale, receive calm, as if cold starlight were turning warm in your chest. With each exhale, let go of one more worry, watching it drift away across distant ridges, until all that remains is breath, and peace, and rest. Chapter 33. The descent from that highest point was slow and aching. They had tasted how near the summit lay, almost within the reach of one more hour, one more risk. But darkness was rising, and the Sherpa partner refused to go any farther into the night. The leader argued inside himself, torn between glory and care. In the end, they turned back together, moving down that same rock wall by lamplight and memory. In the thin air, even retreat was exhausting. They reached Camp 9 at 2:30 in this morning, spent and shivering. As you breathe in, feel the quiet courage in choosing life over a final push. As you breathe out, let go of every pressure to prove yourself. Chapter 34. The next day they rested, nursing frostbitten hands and weary lungs. They dreamed of one more attempt, a cleaner line, this time across the bottleneck itself. But in that cold, high world, a small mistake carries great weight. Somewhere on the wall, the Sherpa had dropped both sets of crampons, those small teeth of steel that bite into hard snow. Without them, the steep, icy traverse beneath the hanging Syrinx was no longer passable. They tried anyway, stepping carefully, but their boots slipped too easily. To continue would be to trust their lives to chance. As you inhale, feel their reluctant surrender. As you exhale, remember that sometimes a door closes not as punishment, but as protection. Chapter 35. While the high camp struggled, confusion deepened below. Some Sherpas, worn thin by altitude and storms, had drifted down to lower camps, where breathing was easier and fear less sharp. When one came partway up and saw what seemed like avalanche scars above, he called upward, but heard no answer in the wind. He returned convinced that everyone higher on the mountain was gone. Word spread quickly, all dead. Believing this, the Sherpas began to strip the upper camps as they descended. Food, fuel, tents all coming down towards safety. Meanwhile, the leader and his partner, very much alive, were fighting their way lower through emptier camps. Breathe in, feeling the ache of misread signs. Breathe out, forgiving the ways we misunderstand one another in fear. Chapter 36. When the leader finally reached the lower camps and then base camp, exhaustion mixed with shock. He found supplies missing, tents taken down, ropes coiled as if the climb were over. In anger and disbelief, he accused those below of abandoning the upper party, of leaving a fellow climber stranded high on the mountain. Voices rose, tempers flared. Underneath every harsh word there pulsed grief, fear, and the raw strain of weeks in a merciless place. Yet there was no time to dwell in blame. One of their own still lay far above, sick and frostbitten, alone among torn tents and blowing snow. As you breathe in, feel the heaviness of that knowledge. As you breathe out, allow your heart to soften toward every imperfect effort to do what is right. Chapter 37. Once anger settled into a strained, brittle silence, another truth rose above all the arguments. A man was still alone high on K2. Sick, frostbitten, weakened by days in the death zone, he waited in a shattered camp far above Camp 6. So at dawn, a small rescue party began to climb. 4 men moved upward, step by careful step, hearts heavy with urgency. By the time they reached Camp 4, 2 were too exhausted to continue. The remaining Sherpas pushed on toward the higher camps, while below, others gathered strength to follow. As you breathe in, feel the quiet heroism in their effort. As you breathe out, honor those who climb not for glory, but for the hope of bringing someone home. Chapter 38. 2 more Sherpas left base camp soon after, moving with astonishing speed. In a single day, they climbed thousands of feet, reaching Camp 6 by nightfall, a feat of strength and will almost beyond imagining in such thin air. Now 4 Sherpas stood together at that lonely high camp preparing to reach the man above. 3 of them set out toward Camp 7, weaving upward through the cold silence. There they found him, starving, dehydrated, weakened to a shadow. He lay among collapsed tents, covered in his own waste, mind blurred by too many days above 7,700 meters. When they tried to bring him down, he refused, asking them to return the next day. Breathe in, feeling their sorrow. Breathe out, feeling how fragile a mind can become when pushed too far. Chapter 39. A storm swept across the mountain the next day, forcing even the strongest to wait. Snow and wind erased tracks, reshaped the familiar slopes into something harsher, stranger. When the sky finally cleared, the same 3 Sherpas set out again, determined to bring the stranded climber down at last. They climbed toward Camp 7 and vanished into the high white world. No radio call, no trace seen from below, only silence pressing in from every side. The 4th Sherpa waited at Camp 6, watching the hours stretch into days. Finally he descended alone, carrying the heaviest news a climber can bear. As you breathe in, feel the weight of that unspoken mystery. As you breathe out, let compassion flow toward lives whose endings we will never fully know. Chapter 40. 2 more rescue attempts were made, but no one was strong enough to climb beyond the lower camps. The mountain had taken too much already. Strength, hope, lives. Far below, in the world of papers and meetings, people would argue about fault, language barriers, misunderstood orders, the decision not to cross the bottleneck on that first attempt, the choice to leave a sick man alone at Camp 7. But high on K2, blame is swallowed by wind. There, all that remains is the stark, simple truth of human limitation before something vast. As you breathe in, acknowledge that life too is full of mixed intentions and imperfect choices. As you breathe out, release the need to judge and rest in the gentler work of understanding. As the story settles around these high, fragile camps, let your own breath become slower, kinder. Imagine the night over K2, vast and star-filled, while tiny tents cling to its flanks like candles along the steps of a dark temple. Up there, men argue, hope, misjudge, and try again. Down here, you are free simply to listen. You do not have to decide who was right or wrong. You do not have to replay your own mistakes. With each inhale, welcome a feeling of spaciousness, as if your chest opened to a clear mountain sky. With each exhale, let old tensions leave you, flowing away like meltwater down a distant glacier. Chapter 41. In the quiet after such a tragedy, many voices tried to name its cause. Some pointed to the language barrier, the way crucial words dissolved between English and Sherpa tongues. Others spoke of delayed supplies, of camps stripped too soon, of decisions made in foggy minds at dangerous heights. Some wondered about the turn away from the bottleneck on that first attempt. But the truth is rarely singular. It is a braid of choices, fatigue, weather, fear, and hope. As you breathe in, accept that most stories are woven from many threads. As you breathe out, release the urge to find one simple person to blame. Chapter 42. There is, too, the plain fact of the era itself. Ropes were coarse and heavy, boots crude, maps incomplete. Climbers still learned by trial in places where failure could not be gently corrected. There were no satellite forecasts, no helicopters, no reliable radios whispering comfort through the storm. When they stepped onto K2, they stepped into an almost absolute silence, with only their judgment and the mountain's moods. And yet, they went, not carelessly, but with reverence and resolve. As you breathe in, feel respect for all who walked before us with fewer tools. As you breathe out, let gratitude rise for the safety and knowledge that cradle your life today. Chapter 43. Over time, the names behind the story surface like stones in clear water. Leaders who traced routes, partners who reached high points and turned back, Sherpas who carried astonishing loads and risked their lives for others. Some were honoured in place names, the chimney, the spur, etched gently into the map of K2. Others remain known only in lists and memory. but to the mountain, each was a brief, bright flame against its ancient slopes. As you inhale, imagine those lights flickering along a dark ridge. As you exhale, honor the quiet truth that every life, including yours, leaves a warmth no statistic can measure. Chapter 44. After 1939, K2 stood once more in unbroken stillness, its summit untouched by human footsteps. Yet the story was not over. In years to come, climbers would return with better gear, clearer weather reports, and the hard lessons of earlier attempts written deep in their hearts. K2 would grant some of them passage and turn others away, sometimes gently, sometimes with terrible finality. Its reputation as a fierce guardian of its own summit would only grow. As you breathe in, feel the solemn dignity of such a place. As you breathe out, remember that not every hard thing in life is your enemy. Some simply stand as teachers, asking you to move with care. Chapter 45. When we look back at these early attempts, it is tempting to think only in terms of success and failure, summit and no summit. But the mountain remembers differently. It remembers each rope anchored in its cracks, each careful step across its snowfields, each whispered prayer in thin air. K2's steep flanks have listened to laughter in tents, to stories traded over shared stoves, to quiet apologies after harsh words. In this way, every expedition leaves more than traces in the ice. It leaves a change in the hearts that return. As you breathe in, remember that your hardest days have also shaped you. As you breathe out, bless even the journeys that did not reach their intended peak. Chapter 46. Far from the cold ridges, people later argued about numbers. How many climbed, how many perished, which peak truly deserved the title most dangerous. They compared death to ascent ratios, trying to distill human stories into tidy fractions. Yet the records themselves were often incomplete, scattered across journals and memories. Year by year, new ascents shifted the figures, new tragedies darkened the tallies. Even the mountains changed, icefalls moved, seasons grew harsher or kinder. The truth became less like a final verdict and more like shifting snow. As you breathe in, accept that some realities refuse to be pinned down. As you breathe out, rest in the gentle wisdom of not needing every answer. Chapter 47. Behind the charts and histories stand people whose names may never be widely known. Porters who carried impossibly heavy loads along glacial rubble, then walked quietly home. Cooks who kept tents warm with tea and simple meals. Sherpas whose strength and skill turned chaos into a chance at survival, whose steps were as vital as any leader's plan. Some had features carved by wind and altitude, eyes seasoned by many seasons in the high hills. Others were young and learning, hearts still tender before the mountain's stern lessons. As you inhale, honor these unseen lives. As you exhale, feel gratitude for the hidden kindnesses that have supported your own path. Chapter 48. In time, K2 would see new expeditions and fresh ropes traced along its stern geometry. There would be summers of clear weather when teams reached the top and returned safely, and other years when storms ruled and no one set foot on the summit. Climbers would bring better gear, more refined techniques, deeper knowledge of altitude and ice. Yet even with all this, K2's character did not soften. It remained steep, remote, and unwavering, a place where every decision carried weight. To stand there was never a right, only a fragile permission. As you breathe in, feel the reverence such a mountain invites. As you breathe out, let that reverence turn inward, toward the fragile, sacred summit of your own life. Chapter 49. Sometimes, People ask why anyone would go to such a place at all. Why risk so much on a strip of ice beneath hanging seracs, or on a ridge where one misstep is final? For many climbers, it is not about conquering a summit, but about meeting themselves. Up there, stripped of comforts and noise, they discover what remains when everything unnecessary falls away. They find fear, yes, and doubt, and longing, but they also find small, shining things: loyalty, quiet courage, deep humility before something greater. As you breathe in, imagine that high, honest mirror. As you breathe out, feel how gently life invites you to know yourself without judgment, exactly where you are. Chapter 50. K2's story is not just a record of danger, it is also a record of endurance. For every tragedy written in snow, there are countless simple acts of care. A rope held a little tighter, a pack carried for a weaker friend, a cup of hot drink pressed into trembling hands. In thin air, kindness becomes as vital as oxygen. Those who return often speak less about the summit and more about these small mercies shared along the way. High on K2, survival is not just an individual effort, it is a web of trust. As you breathe in, feel the strength of the people who have carried you in unseen ways. As you breathe out, let gratitude spread through you like warmth in a cold tent. For a little while now, let the climbing fade into the background, like distant ridges slowly softening in evening light. You have walked high in your imagination, followed rope lines through storms and misunderstandings, watched courage and frailty intertwine on steep slopes. But tonight, you are not on K2. You are safe in your own small camp of blankets and shadows, where nothing is demanded of you but rest. Feel the gentle weight of your body, the way it is held by the bed beneath you. Notice the rhythm of your breathing, a quiet rope line connecting you to this moment. You do not need to conquer any summit tonight, not the summit of perfection, nor of productivity, nor of being enough. You have already come far through the valleys and ridges of your own days and years. If your mind circles around old regrets, imagine them as storm clouds caught on a high ridge, slowly thinning and drifting away. If your heart feels heavy with worry, place those worries gently at the foot of the mountain, knowing you can pick them up again later if you truly need them. Right now, they are not your task. Right now, your only work is to breathe, to soften, to receive. Let gratitude rise quietly, for the roof above you, for the warmth around you, for every person who has ever shared a kind word, a steady hand, a listening ear. You don't have to strive for courage in this moment. You are allowed simply to be, held by a night that asks nothing and gives you back your own quiet heart. As you inhale, feel a calm presence settling beside you, like a trusted companion in a high tent. As you exhale, sink deeper into stillness, knowing that you don't have to climb any further to be worthy of rest. Chapter 51. When climbers came home from K2, they did not return unchanged. Some carried the weight of lost friends like a stone in the chest. Some woke at night hearing the echo of wind on empty ridges, or seeing again the last place they had turned back. Others felt their lives on the plains become strangely vivid. How precious a warm room, a shared meal, a loved one's laughter suddenly seemed. The mountain had not given them a summit, but it had given them a sharper sense of what truly mattered. As you breathe in, feel that same clarity touch your own life. As you breathe out, let small, quiet gratitude spread through you like a gentle glow. Chapter 52. In distant villages and high plateaus, families of Sherpas and porters waited for news, listening for footsteps on familiar paths. Some sons and fathers returned, thin but smiling, with stories of strange companions and foreign gear. Others did not. The grief of those who stayed behind rarely appears in books, yet it is part of the mountain story too. Prayer flags flutter in cold winds, names are spoken softly over butter lamps, memories held like small steady flames against the dark. As you inhale, honor the unseen circles of love around every climber. As you exhale, remember the people in your own life who stand quietly beside you, often without recognition, always with care. Chapter 53. In time, someone would reach the summit of K2. Better equipment, deeper knowledge, clearer weather windows would eventually open a narrow path to the top. But even that first success did not tame the mountain. K2 did not become safe or gentle. It simply allowed passage on a few rare days. Those who followed knew they were stepping into a place where history held both triumph and sorrow, and where the line between the two remained very thin. To stand there was to stand for a moment in the meeting point of earth and sky, humility and courage. As you breathe in, imagine that vast open horizon. As you breathe out, let your own heart expand without needing any summit photo at all. Chapter 54. For most of us, K2 will remain a story rather than a destination. We will meet it on glowing screens and in quiet narrations like this one, long after the lights are out. Yet its lessons still reach us. It reminds us that some challenges are not meant to be rushed, that some questions cannot be answered by numbers alone, that turning back can be as noble as pressing on. It whispers that endurance is not only surviving a storm, but also remaining kind in the midst of it. As you inhale, feel that wisdom settle gently within you. As you exhale, let your body sink deeper into rest, as if you too have come down safely from a long, cold climb. Chapter 55. K2 also teaches us about uncertainty. Even the most skilled climbers step into days where forecasts are wrong, where snow behaves strangely, where ice that seemed secure suddenly fractures. They plan carefully, then must hold those plans lightly, adjusting with each gust of wind and shifting cloud. Life is not so different. We map out years, and yet a single unexpected moment can redirect our path. On the mountain, survival means staying flexible without losing heart. As you breathe in, acknowledge the uncertainties you carry. As you breathe out, feel a gentle trust that you will be given enough light for the next few steps, even if you cannot see the whole route. Chapter 56. The story of K2 is also a story of small comforts in harsh places, a shared joke in a cramped tent, a photograph of home tucked inside a jacket, the first sip of something hot after hours in the cold. These tiny sparks of warmth do not erase risk, but they make it more bearable. In the death zone, a simple gesture, a hand steadying a rope, a partner checking your knots, can feel like grace. As you inhale, think of the small kindnesses that have brightened your own difficult days. As you exhale, feel invited to offer such gentle warmth, first to yourself and then to others, in whatever form you can. Chapter 57. If you listen closely to these stories, you may hear an echo of your own inner climbs. Perhaps you have never strapped on crampons or tied into a rope, yet you know what it is to face a steep season. You have stood at the base of difficult decisions, uncertain relationships, long recoveries, and felt the same mixture of fear and resolve. You have taken one careful step, then another, even when you were not sure how far you could go. In this way, you carry a mountaineer's heart, quietly, every day. As you breathe in, respect the courage that has already brought you through so much. As you breathe out, allow yourself to rest from always needing to be strong. Chapter 58. In the end, no one truly owns a summit, not even on the day they stand upon it. They visit for a brief, trembling moment, then must descend, leaving the high point to its own silent sky. So too with our finest hours, our victories, our breakthroughs, our most luminous days. We pass through them, grateful, but we cannot stay there forever. Life is lived mostly on the slopes and in the valleys, in the ordinary steps between peaks. As you inhale, remember a time when you felt lifted high. As you exhale, know that even here, in this simple, quiet night, your life is no less sacred, no less worthy of tenderness and wonder. Let yourself drift now, as if the story were a gentle snow beginning to fall more softly, each flake slower than the last. You have walked across distant glaciers in your mind, watched lanterns glow in fragile tents, felt storms rise and fade. Now imagine the wind easing over K2's ridges, the stars steady above its sharp crown. Far below, valleys grow dark and peaceful. In your own small valley of pillows and blankets, you are safe, sheltered from all high tempests. With each breath, let your thoughts grow lighter, like clouds thinning at sunrise, leaving only a wide, clear sky within. Chapter 59. On any great mountain, storms are not interruptions. They are part of the journey itself. Climbers on K2 have learned to sit inside thin walls of fabric, while the world outside roars, days vanishing into the sound of wind on nylon. In those long hours, the will to push higher wrestles with the wisdom to wait or turn back. Snow piles on guy lines, thoughts pile in the mind. Slowly, priorities rearrange themselves. Life, not summit, becomes the true goal. As you breathe in, remember storms you have weathered without fanfare. As you breathe out, feel the quiet strength it took simply to stay, to endure, to wait until the sky cleared again. Chapter 60. High on K2, every rope is an act of trust. You clip into a line you did not always fix yourself, anchored by hands you must believe did their work with care. A partner steps ahead into the darkness of a crevasse bridge or the blur of spindrift, and you follow, held by faith as much as by gear. None of them can see the whole route, yet together they move, one step, one breath, one careful decision at a time. As you inhale, imagine that invisible rope of trust woven through your own life. As you exhale, allow yourself to lean, just a little, into the support that has always been there, even when you did not notice. Let your breathing soften again now, like a breeze settling after dusk on a high glacier. Feel your blankets as a sturdy tent wall against the winds of the day, their worries tapping faintly but unable to reach you here. With every inhale, draw in a sense of spacious mountain stillness. With every exhale, let something heavy slide off your shoulders and down the slope of this night. You don't need crampons or ropes for the journey ahead, only breath and a willing heart to rest. Imagine a small lamp glowing beside your sleeping bag, its gentle light saying, "You are safe. You are allowed to stop. You have done enough for today." Chapter 61. If you listen deeply, you may hear how K2's story hums with a quiet, stubborn hope. Despite steep statistics and grim seasons, people still return, not out of recklessness, but out of a longing to touch something vast and true. They know the risks more clearly than ever, yet the pull remains. In our own lives, we also stand before daunting slopes, new beginnings, honest conversations, healing long-avoided wounds. Part of us trembles, part of us leans forward. As you breathe in, acknowledge the places that still call you upward, gently, without force. As you breathe out, remember that you can approach them at your own pace, resting as often as you need along the way. Chapter 62. Some who approach K2 never intend to reach the summit. They come to carry loads, to cook, to guide, to keep others alive. Their names rarely appear in headlines, yet without them, almost no one would climb at all. They walk the same harsh glaciers, breathe the same thin air, shoulder the same storms. They remind us that greatness is often quiet, woven into service rather than spotlight. In your own life, you may have played such roles, supporting, listening, steadying others on their steep days. As you breathe in, honor those unseen labors. As you breathe out, let yourself feel seen too, even if no mountain has ever spoken your name aloud. Chapter 63. There is a kind of wisdom that only comes from turning back. On K2, some climbers have stopped within sight of the summit, hearts breaking as they pivot towards safety. They descend not because they lack courage, but because they hear a quieter voice. Live, return, try again another way, another time, or not at all. In that choice, love for those waiting below outweighs the pull of the peak above. In our own journeys, we also meet moments when stepping away is the bravest act. As you breathe in, recall a time you chose preservation over pressure. As you breathe out, bless that choice, even if part of you still wonders, what if? Chapter 64. The legends of K2 often center on storms, summits, and statistics, but the mountain also cradles moments of stillness. Dawn on a clear day, when first light brushes the upper ridges in pale gold. A rare evening when the wind falls silent and stars shimmer above the tents like distant campfires. In those fragile pauses, climbers feel a deep, spacious peace, as if the world has widened beyond fear. You too have known such pauses, brief mornings of unexpected calm, small nights when worry loosened its grip. As you inhale, let one of those memories rise. As you exhale, invite that same soft, open quiet into this moment, right here where you rest. Chapter 65. For all its severity, K2 also reveals the tenderness of the human spirit. A gloved hand steadying another on an icy step. A partner sharing the last of a cherished snack at a high camp. A Sherpa quietly checking knots in the dark, making sure each connection is sound before the team moves on. These gestures are small, almost invisible from afar, yet they shimmer at the heart of every survival story. In your own days, there are similar glimmers, a message sent, a hug given, a silence shared without judgment. As you breathe in, feel how love expresses itself through such simple acts. As you breathe out, rest in the knowing that you too are capable of this gentle strength. Chapter 66. The remembrance of those who never returned from K2 is not meant to frighten us, but to deepen our reverence. Their stories are threads in a tapestry woven with risk, devotion, and love. They wrote their last lines not in ink but in footsteps on snow, in rope lines fixed for others, in letters sent home before departure. We may never know their final thoughts, but we can sense the quiet bravery that carried them so high. As you breathe in, pause for a moment of silent respect for them. As you breathe out, feel your own life as a precious, unrepeatable journey, deserving of patience, gentleness, and care. Chapter 67. Sometimes the mountain reflects back the questions we rarely voice. Why am I here? What is worth my time, my energy, my limited days? On K2, stripped of comfort, climbers find that their answers grow simpler. Love, connection, the beauty of a single sunrise, the sound of a friend's breathing in the next tent. The illusions of status and applause fall away with the last trees far below. What remains is the raw fact of being alive, together in a dangerous and glorious world. As you inhale, let your own priorities quietly rearrange themselves. As you exhale, hold close what truly matters and let the rest drift like distant cloud. Chapter 68. The shape of K2 against the sky is sharp, but the lessons it offers are soft. It reminds us that we are small, and that smallness is not shameful but freeing. We cannot control the weather, the rock, the shifting snow, but we can choose how we move through what we're given, step by step, breath by breath, kindness by kindness. You may never set foot on a glacier, yet every day you walk your own steep ground, work, responsibilities, hopes, and hurts. As you breathe in, feel the permission to go slowly. As you breathe out, let the need to rush ahead melt away, like ice in the first light of morning. Chapter 69. In the hush between ridges and stars, K2 holds a kind of timeless vigil. Generations come and go, gear evolves, flags change, but the mountain remains, a silent keeper of human stories. In its shadow, triumph and tragedy are both swallowed by the same vastness. This can feel humbling, even unsettling. And yet, there is comfort there too. The things that overwhelm you tonight are held within a much larger sky. You are a single, luminous moment in a great unfolding story. As you inhale, feel yourself gently placed within that wider mystery. As you exhale, let your worries loosen, like knots slowly untied in the dark. Chapter 70. In stories of K2, one thread appears again and again, the quiet decision to keep remembering. Those who survived come home and speak the names of those who did not, like lighting candles one by one in a dark room. Prayer flags flutter in high passes, photos rest on mantles, old ropes hang in small museums, their fibres worn but honoured. The mountain remains far away, yet its lessons echo in kitchens, living rooms and quiet conversations at night. It becomes less a distant spike of rock and more a symbol of all we face and endure. As you breathe in, feel those echoes around you. As you breathe out, sense your own story joining that gentle, enduring chorus. Let your breath grow slower now, like snow drifting lazily down through a still blue morning. Feel the soft weight of your blankets as if they were the safest camp you have ever known, pitched on a wide, level place where no storm can touch you. You do not have to climb anymore tonight. You do not have to retell painful memories or plan tomorrow's ascent. Imagine that far above you, K2 stands in moonlight, watching over a sleeping world, while you rest far below, utterly safe, utterly held. With each inhale, invite a sense of spacious calm into your chest. With each exhale, release one more tightness in your body, one more small knot in your thoughts, letting them unwind and flow away into the dark like meltwater down a distant valley. Chapter 71. If K2 could speak, it might tell us that survival is not only about outlasting storms, but about what awakens in us because of them. The climber who returns often listens more deeply, loves more fiercely, wastes less time on what does not nourish the soul. You too have your own inner K2, the hard season, the lonely decision, the steep stretch when you thought you could not keep going, and yet somehow did. Those experiences have carved valleys of compassion inside you. As you breathe in, recognize the strength you forge there. As you breathe out, let go of any shame for the times you trembled. Even shaking legs can carry a heart that refuses to give up. Chapter 72. Long after tents have rotted and ropes have frayed, the spirit of these journeys remains. New climbers read old accounts and feel a stirring in their chests. Listeners, like you, lie in darkened rooms and follow the arc of these stories with their breathing, finding comfort in the endurance of others. K2 stands unchanged, but each person who hears its tales is invited to change a little, to soften, to deepen, to value their own fragile, luminous life more tenderly. As you inhale, let that invitation rest gently in you. As you exhale, imagine yourself whispering back to the mountain, not with ambition, but with gratitude for the simple gift of another night to breathe, to feel, to rest. Chapter 73. Not every encounter with K2 ends in legend. Some expeditions come and go quietly, no record broken, no headline written. They arrive, set their camps, climb as high as weather and wisdom allow, then turn back, their greatest triumph simply to return together. These journeys are gentle reminders that value is not measured only in extremes. A safe descent, a shared meal after weeks of dried food, the warmth of a village after glaciers, these moments shine quietly in memory. You too have days no one else will celebrate, yet they hold quiet victories. As you breathe in, recognize them. As you breathe out, let yourself feel quietly proud of the ways you've carried on. Chapter 74. In some ways, K2 is a mirror held up to the sky. Climbers see in it not just ice and stone, but their own longings. To test limits, to seek beauty, to touch something vast and wordless. Yet the mountain also reflects back their frailty, how quickly strength fades at altitude, how small a human figure looks against that towering face. To stand beneath it is to feel both the ache of being finite and the wonder of being alive at all. As you inhale, allow that paradox to settle in you. Small, yet meaningful. Fragile, yet luminous. As you exhale, let go of the need to be larger than life and rest in simply being fully, tenderly human. Chapter 75. In the quiet of base camp, between storms and summit pushes, friendships deepen. People from different countries, languages and stories share the same thin air and the same simple needs: warmth, safety, understanding. Around small stoves they trade tales of other mountains, other failures, other quiet joys. Laughing in that cold, high world feels almost sacred, a defiance against fear and loneliness. Later, long after they return home, it is often these moments they remember most vividly, not the exact height reached. As you breathe in, recall shared moments of connection in your own life. As you breathe out, feel how those memories wrap around you now like a soft, familiar blanket. Chapter 76. As night falls on K2, the last light lingers on its upper ridges, turning snow to rose and gold before fading into deep blue. Headlamps flicker near the tents, tiny points of light in a sea of shadow. Above, the stars burn cold and bright, constellations mirrored faintly in ice and rock. In such a place, even the most restless mind grows quieter, humbled by the ancient silence. The mountain will be here long after every tent is gone, every rope forgotten, yet somehow your brief life still matters within this grandeur. As you inhale, feel yourself held between earth and sky. As you exhale, surrender a little more to the deep, patient stillness of this night. Now, Let the image of K2 slowly soften in your thoughts, as if clouds were drifting in, wrapping the summit in gentle grey. You have walked far in this story, through storms, camps, rescues and reflections. You do not need to follow every detail anymore. You're free simply to float on the feeling, the reverence, the humility, the quiet endurance that these mountains awaken. With each breath in, imagine drawing cool, clear air from a high valley into your lungs. With each breath out, feel yourself sinking deeper into warmth, into safety, into rest. The world can wait at base camp. Tonight, your only climb is toward deeper peace. Chapter 77. Somewhere far below the ice fields of K2, life goes on in quiet ways. Children walk to school, shopkeepers lift their shutters, farmers look up at the same sky without seeing the high ridges hidden beyond. They may hear rumours of distant expeditions, but their own climbs are different, raising families, tending fields, surviving winters of another kind. The great mountain watches all of this without judgment, a fixed point while human stories swirl beneath it like clouds. You too live most of your days far from any literal summit. As you breathe in, feel how sacred those ordinary paths are. As you breathe out, let any shame about small days slip gently away. Chapter 78. In the quiet corners of the world, old climbers sometimes sit with younger ones, trading stories like shared cups of tea. They speak of K2 and other heights, of blizzards and sunrises, of friends lost and friends saved. Their voices are often soft, their eyes turned inward to memories that words can only half express. When asked what mattered most, they rarely say, "the summit." Instead, they speak of companionship, of lessons learned in thin air, of the deep respect they gained for their own limits. As you inhale, listen for such elder wisdom in your own life. As you exhale, let it guide you toward gentler expectations of yourself. Chapter 79. Sometimes, the hardest journeys are those no one else can see. On K2, the struggle is visible. Frost on beards, slow steps in deep snow, faces lined with fatigue. Inside you, the struggle may be quieter. A grief you carry, a fear you rarely name, a change you're slowly learning to accept. Yet the courage it takes to face these inner slopes is no less real than any alpine ascent. Each honest breath, each small act of self-kindness is like placing a firm step in fragile terrain. As you breathe in, acknowledge the climbs within you. As you breathe out, offer yourself the same compassion you would give a tired climber on a steep ridge. Chapter 80. In the end, the story of K2 and of every mountain is a story of impermanence. Snow drifts and melts, routes change, camps vanish, names fade from common memory. Yet something endures beneath the shifting ice. The way love drove people to risk for one another, the way awe opened their hearts, the way humility grew where arrogance once stood. Your life too will leave traces, some visible, many hidden. Kindness offered, forgiveness extended, courage shown in private moments. These are your fixed ropes on the steep slopes of time. As you inhale, feel the quiet dignity of that truth. As you exhale, rest in the knowledge that nothing genuinely loving is ever wasted. Let yourself soften now, as if you were untying your harness and stepping into a warm, lamplit refuge after a long, cold climb. The mountain remains outside, tall and solemn, but you no longer have to face its winds tonight. Here, in this small sanctuary of blankets and shadows, you are safe. You are off the rope. You are home. Feel your breath moving gently, like a slow, clear stream in a sheltered valley. With each inhale, draw in a sense of quiet blessing, as if the high peaks were sending you their calm. With each exhale, let the last clinging tensions of the day slide away, down and down, until they are far beneath you. You do not need to be strong now. You only need to be here, breathing, resting, being softly, beautifully alive. Chapter 81. When climbers leave K2 behind, the mountain does not vanish from their lives. It moves inward. It appears in small moments, a sudden memory when feeling a cold wind, a flash of white ridges when clouds gather on the horizon. In quiet hours, they may close their eyes and see tents glowing under the stars, hear the distant crack of ice, feel again the thin, sharp air in their lungs. Yet now those memories are wrapped in the warmth of a safe room, a familiar bed, a loved one's voice. As you breathe in, notice your own remembered mountains. As you breathe out, feel how far you've come since standing at the edge of those old storms. Chapter 82. There is a gentle courage in choosing a different path. Some who once dreamed of K2 later find their hearts drawn elsewhere, to family, to healing work, to quiet creativity by the sea or under trees. They hang their old gear in closets or pass it on to new climbers, not as a symbol of defeat, but as a blessing for another chapter. The summit they now seek is softer, presence, love, a life lived awake. K2 still stands in their story, but no longer as a question that must be answered. As you inhale, consider the dreams you have outgrown. As you exhale, release any grief about them and welcome the new, gentler peaks rising in your horizon. Chapter 83. For those who never knew the mountains firsthand, these stories still carry medicine. Listening in the dark, you can feel your own struggles mirrored in icy ridges and long approaches. You recognize the weariness of a steep season, the relief of a small campfire after a hard day, the ache of letting go when a goal proves too costly. You may never clip into a rope on K2, yet you understand what it means to keep moving when the air feels thin. As you breathe in, let the courage of distant climbers mingle with your own. As you breathe out, imagine laying your burdens gently beside theirs, all of you resting together under the same wide sky. Chapter 84. In a way, every night is its own base camp. You return here after the climb of your day, carrying the weight of choices, conversations, and unfinished tasks like gear in a tired pack. You pitch your small tent of blankets, dim your lights like headlamps going dark one by one, and listen as the winds of thought slowly quiet. Tomorrow, new ridges will rise before you, but tonight you are allowed to pause at this safe elevation, to refuel with sleep, to let your mind and heart grow steady again. As you inhale, feel this room become a calm, sheltered valley. As you exhale, let the day's ascent fall away behind you, step by step, until there is only breath and warmth and peace. Chapter 85. Somewhere above all maps and arguments, K2 reminds us of a simple truth. We are travelers, not owners in this world. We pass through landscapes of joy and grief, of effort and rest, like climbers moving from camp to camp. We build little shelters, homes, routines, relationships, knowing they are temporary, yet loving them deeply anyway. In that tenderness, there is a quiet bravery, to care for what we cannot keep, to cherish what will someday change. As you breathe in, feel your life as a precious stretch of trail. As you breathe out, release the need to control every turn, trusting that each step has its own quiet meaning. Chapter 86. K2's steep ridges show us that strength and vulnerability are not opposites, but companions. A climber may be powerful on the ascent and yet close to tears in the tent, missing home or doubting their own capacity. The mountain does not shame them for this. It simply stands unchanging while their humanity rises and falls like the weather. You too can be both brave and afraid, hopeful and tired. There is space in you for all of it. As you inhale, welcome every honest feeling without sorting it into good or bad. As you exhale, let self-judgment loosen, like snow sliding gently from a warmed slope. Chapter 87. In the thin air of K2, breath becomes a prayer. Each inhale is an act of trust, each exhale a soft surrender. Climbers count steps between breaths, learning to live within smaller rhythms, slower paces. What once seemed not enough becomes exactly what sustains them. In your own life, you may have wished for more energy, more certainty, more time. Yet somehow, what you had was just enough to bring you here, to this night. As you breathe in, feel awe for the simple, faithful work your lungs do. As you breathe out, let a quiet thank you drift through you, light as snow. Chapter 88. If you imagine K2 now, try seeing it not as a threat, but as a distant, solemn guardian. Its steep faces and cold storms are real, yet from where you lie, they are only a shape under the stars, a symbol of all that is vast and beyond your control. Between you and that mountain stretch countless miles, towns, rivers, and gentle hills. You are not on its slopes tonight. You are in a softer place, held by gravity and warmth, watched over by familiar walls and a friendly sky. As you inhale, let that sense of distance soothe you. As you exhale, allow your body to grow heavier, as if settling into the safest camp you have ever known. Chapter 85. Somewhere above all maps and arguments, K2 reminds us of a simple truth. We are travellers, not owners, in this world. We pass through landscapes of joy and grief, of effort and rest, like climbers moving from camp to camp. We build little shelters, homes, routines, relationships, knowing they are temporary, yet loving them deeply anyway. In that tenderness, there is a quiet bravery, to care for what we cannot keep, to cherish what will someday change. As you breathe in, feel your life as a precious stretch of trail. As you breathe out, release the need to control every turn, trusting that each step has its own quiet meaning. Chapter 86. K2's steep ridges show us that strength and vulnerability are not opposites, but companions. A climber may be powerful on the ascent and yet close to tears in the tent, missing home or doubting their own capacity. The mountain does not shame them for this. It simply stands unchanging while their humanity rises and falls like the weather. You too can be both brave and afraid, hopeful and tired. There is space in you for all of it. As you inhale, welcome every honest feeling without sorting it into good or bad. As you exhale, let self-judgment loosen, like snow sliding gently from a warmed slope. Chapter 87. In the thin air of K2, breath becomes a prayer. Each inhale is an act of trust, each exhale a soft surrender. Climbers count steps between breaths, learning to live within smaller rhythms, slower paces. What once seemed not enough becomes exactly what sustains them. In your own life, you may have wished for more energy, more certainty, more time. Yet somehow what you had was just enough to bring you here, to this night. As you breathe in, feel awe for the simple, faithful work your lungs do. As you breathe out, let a quiet thank you drift through you, light as snow. Chapter 88. If you imagine K2 now, try seeing it not as a threat, but as a distant, solemn guardian. Its steep faces and cold storms are real, yet from where you lie, they are only a shape under the stars, a symbol of all that is vast and beyond your control. Between you and that mountain stretch countless miles, towns, rivers, and gentle hills. You are not on its slopes tonight. You are in a softer place, held by gravity and warmth, watched over by familiar walls and a friendly sky. As you inhale, let that sense of distance soothe you. As you exhale, allow your body to grow heavier, as if settling into the safest camp you have ever known. Chapter 93. If you listen closely, the story of K2 gradually turns from ice and stone back toward the heart. The steep ridges and storm-scoured camps become symbols more than places, images for every time you have stood at the edge of what you thought you could bear. The mountain's remoteness mirrors the moments you felt no one could truly understand you. Yet even there, threads of connection remained. A rope, a voice, a shared breath in the dark. You have known such threads too. As you breathe in, remember one person who has steadied you. As you breathe out, let gratitude move toward them, soft and invisible, like distant prayer flags stirring in a high wind. Chapter 94. Over years and decades, the tales of K2 have been told and retold, around camp stoves, in family homes, in books, in quiet videos watched late at night. Details shift, numbers are revised, new perspectives emerge. Yet beneath every version lies the same pulse. Human beings risking, caring, persisting in the face of something far larger than themselves. We are drawn to these stories not because we long for danger, but because we recognize our own longing to live meaningfully. We too hope that our efforts and sacrifices matter. As you inhale, let that longing rise without fear. As you exhale, trust that meaning is woven not only in great feats, but in the smallest acts of daily love. Chapter 95. Imagine now that K2 stands not outside you, but within, a tall, silent peak in the landscape of your soul. Its ridges are the hard truths you've faced. Its storms are the upheavals you've endured. Its rare, clear mornings are the moments when everything suddenly made sense. You have climbed parts of this inner mountain already, often without noticing. Forgiving someone, asking for help, choosing honesty when silence felt safer. These are high, thin places of the heart. As you breathe in, honor how far you've come on this inner ascent. As you breathe out, release any pressure to finish it. Some mountains are not meant to be conquered, only walked with, patiently, over a lifetime. Chapter 96. And beyond every mountain, outer or inner, stretches a sky that no summit can contain. Climbers speak of looking out from high ridges and feeling a strange, wordless sense of something more. More than rock, more than effort, more than the brief story of a single life. Call it spirit, call it grace, call it mystery. Whatever name you choose, it is like a wide, luminous silence, holding every storm, every step, every breath. You have felt it too in quiet moments. A sunset, a piece of music, a kind gaze that made time feel larger. As you inhale, rest in that spacious presence. As you exhale, imagine yourself gently held in it, exactly as you are, here and now. Chapter 97. Some nights, when sleep feels far away, you may find your thoughts wandering to strange altitudes. You remember old choices like steep couloirs, regrets like hidden crevasses, hopes like distant summits. It can feel as if you are alone on a cold ridge with no clear way forward. Yet even then, there is always one thing within reach, the next gentle breath. Just as climbers on K2 move by counting steps between inhales, you can move through this night by counting the soft rises and falls of your chest. As you breathe in, feel that simple rhythm steady you. As you breathe out, let your mind know that this right now is enough. Chapter 98. In the long story of the mountains, no storm has lasted forever. Winds howl, snow blinds, tents bow and strain. But eventually the sky thins, the clouds break, and light returns to the high ridges. What felt endless reveals itself to have been a passing season. So it is with the tempests inside us. Fear and sorrow may feel permanent when we are in their center, yet slowly, almost imperceptibly, they begin to loosen. A kind word, a small joy, a quiet night like this one can be the first clearing in the clouds. As you inhale, trust that no feeling is final. As you exhale, allow a small, gentle hope to breathe with you. Chapter 90. If you could trace all your days on a map, you would see not just one climb, but many. Low valleys of rest and laughter, sharp ridges of decision, hidden plateaus where you healed without realizing it. There were times you thought you were stuck at the same camp, but in truth, you were gathering strength, learning the weather of your own heart. From far above, that map would look beautiful, twisting, imperfect, alive. You have walked it with more courage than you know. As you breathe in, imagine seeing your life from that higher view. As you breathe out, let any harsh judgment of your path soften into quiet admiration. Chapter 100. Tonight, K2 stands far away, a distant silhouette on the roof of the world. Its storms do not reach you here, but its lessons do. That endurance can be gentle, that turning back can be sacred, that every breath on a hard day is a kind of prayer. You have journeyed with this mountain in your imagination, not to chase danger, but to remember the resilient, luminous spirit that lives in you. You do not need ice or rope to prove it. Your very presence, still here after all you've faced, is proof enough. As you inhale, receive that truth like a blessing. As you exhale, prepare to lay down the weight of this story and rest. Maybe, as we come to the end of this journey, you can feel how far you've quietly walked tonight. From crowded valleys of thought to the thin, clear air of high ridges, you have followed the story of a mountain that almost no one will ever touch. And yet its lessons have reached the small universe of your room, the gentle rhythm of your own breath. You have stood in your imagination beneath K2's sharp crown, listening to the wind speak over rock and ice. You have watched climbers move and falter and try again, seen rope lines of trust, small flames of kindness, decisions to turn back that were as sacred as any summit. You have felt how fragile a human figure is against that great pyramid of stone, and how powerful a single act of love can be in a tent lit by a tiny stove. Now, slowly, let those images settle like snow after a long storm. The mountain remains where it has always stood, far away, wrapped in stars and silence. You too remain where you are, closer to warmth, closer to home, closer to the quiet center of your own heart. You do not need to carry K2 on your shoulders. You only need to keep the soft light of its wisdom glowing inside you. Remember what this night has whispered, that you are allowed to rest before the climb is finished, that you are worthy of love even when you are tired, unsure or afraid, that your life, without cameras, without headlines, is already a beautiful, brave ascent through changing weather and unknown paths. If tonight's journey brought peace to your spirit, if it helped your thoughts grow softer and your breathing more calm, you're gently invited to share that feeling forward. When you wake, if you wish, remember to like this video, to subscribe to this little sanctuary of stories, and to share what great survival tale you would love to dream through next. And when you're ready, on some other evening, you can click the video waiting on your screen and continue your endurance path to the summit. Another night, another gentle climb, another chance to rest in the courage of the human spirit. For now, there is nothing left to do. No ridge to cross, no decision to make. Just your body, safe and supported. Just your breath, slow and faithful. Just the quiet sense that you have walked high above the world in spirit, and now you're being guided gently back down to a soft, waiting camp. May peace guard your dreams until morning, and may grace be the first light to greet you when you wake. Good night.